There's a house in Lungcan Hamlet, deep in the Mekong Delta, that no one has dared to approach for years. Not because of ghosts or anything like that, but because of the concrete floor inside. People whisper that someone is buried underneath it. The wife disappeared. The husband said she ran off with another man, but her slippers were still there. The rice cooker was still on. The water jar wasn't even half empty. No one ever saw Hai Tim walk out of that house. Then, night after night, strange knocking sounds started echoing through the walls. The bedroom mirror reflected shadows that didn't belong to anyone. And the rice jar, once so ordinary, hid a terrifying secret. This is a chilling story. It all begins with a wedding ring at the bottom of that jar, and a midnight confession whispered in the dark. If you want to know what really happened under that floor, keep watching, right now. Back then, in Lungcan Hamlet, near the Kai Nook area, there was a house that looked totally normal from the outside. An old corrugated iron roof, cracked cement floor, with a quiet couple living behind a pond full of water lilies. His name was Tu Han. His wife, everyone called her Hai Tim because she always wore purple ao ba ba and carried lemongrass everywhere she went. No one expected the day would come when the whole village would be whispering. He buried his wife under the floor. It all started on a stormy night. Thunder roared across the fields. The whole village lost power, except for Mr. Tu's house, where a single oil lamp flickered in the kitchen. People said they heard pots clanging and furniture being dragged. They thought the couple was fighting. But by morning, Hai Tim was gone. Just gone. No one saw her leave. Her sandals were still there. The dishes weren't washed, and the water jar was still full. Auntie Sao, who sold sweet soup at the edge of the village, grumbled, "A married woman running away in the middle of a storm? I smelled trouble." As for Mr. Tu, his face was blank like rotten wood. When people asked, he just replied, "She's mad at me. She went back to her mom's place in Hak Rao." But someone went to Hak Rao and her mother said Hai never showed up. That's when the rumors really took off. Some said she was kidnapped. Others said she ran away with another man. But Auntie Moi Sen, who often sat under the mango tree by Mr. Tu's land, swore, "I heard someone digging in the middle of the night. Thought he was planting bananas. But now I'm not so sure." From that day on, Lungcan was never peaceful again. People claimed they saw a white shadow float past Mr. Tu's fence at night. One time, little New, Auntie Ba Sun's granddaughter, came running home, screaming that she saw Auntie Hai in purple, standing in the corner of the yard, her face black and bruised, eyes wide open. Adults scolded her, "Stop making things up." But then Auntie Bei Bem, who had once lent Mr. Tu a shovel, suddenly got goosebumps and said, "The shovel I lent him, he returned it covered in red clay. But his whole yard is gray soil. Where did he dig?" Mr. Tu stayed silent, always brooding, smoking tobacco on his front steps, staring into the concrete floor like it held some heavy secret. One day, Auntie Hai Hong asked directly, "Hey Tu, where's Hai gone? I was planning to invite her to the shrine offering." He gave a dry laugh. "She'll be back soon." Then looked away and said nothing more. 3 days later, it rained again, just like the night Hai Tim disappeared. The downpour flooded the dirt roads. People once again heard dishes clattering in Mr. Tu's kitchen. But he was alone. That night, Mr. Nam Bui, stumbling home drunk, paused outside Mr. Tu's house. He saw the faint glow of the oil lamp, and a figure with long hair standing silently in the kitchen doorway. The next morning, Mr. Nam told everyone. Some believed him, some didn't. But now, anyone who passed by Mr. Tu's house started walking faster. Kids didn't dare go near. Auntie Sao, the sweet soup seller, said, "I don't believe in ghosts. But the light turning on by itself, the knocking on the door, that's not normal." Exactly 10 days after Hai Tim vanished, Auntie Moi Sen came over to borrow fish sauce. She found Mr. Tu on his knees scrubbing the floor, his face pale, shirt soaked in sweat. She looked down and noticed freshly laid cement tiles, still damp and uneven. Nearby, the water jar had been moved slightly from its usual spot. She asked, "Hey, wasn't this area just plain floor before? Why tile it now?" He stammered, water damage. Just fixing it." Auntie Moy frowned but said nothing. That night, she told Auntie Sao. By the next morning, Auntie Sao was already chatting at the market. "He buried something under that floor. I swear it's not just water. I swear." And from then on, the whispers spread like wildfire, through the market, the shrine, and along the boat docks of Kai Nook. They say when someone dies unjustly, the land can never rest. Especially if the body's never given a proper grave. No name on a headstone. No incense. No one even knowing where the corpse lies. And if that corpse is under the floor of a house, it's even more tragic. Ever since Hai Tim disappeared, Mr. Tu's house had become something else entirely: humid, dim, and heavy, like the air itself refused to move. That night, the air was thick and hot. No rain, no breeze, but no one could sleep. Auntie Sao, the sweet soup vendor, tossed and turned in her hammock but couldn't close her eyes. Maybe, she thought, it was the spoiled batch of mung bean sweet soup she ate earlier. She got up to fetch some cool water from the jar when she heard knock, 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 3 steady taps. Like someone knocking on a leaf wall, right at the edge where her house bordered Mr. Tu's. She figured it was a cat or dog, so she quietly stepped outside and shone her flashlight. No one, but as she turned to go back, knock, knock, knock again, closer this time. Like someone was standing just on the other side of the wall, tapping slowly with their hand. By morning, she told the story, and the whole hamlet buzzed with chatter. But the strangest thing was Auntie Bay Bem, the usual gossip, said nothing all morning. By noon, she finally pulled a chair to her front door, picked her teeth with a toothpick, and said calmly, "Truth is, I heard it the night before. 3 knocks every night, just like someone asking for the ferry. But I didn't say anything. Didn't dare. Now that Auntie Sao's mentioned it, I've got goosebumps." After the knocking started, people began to pay more attention. Mr. Nam Bui's yellow dog, once known for running around everywhere, now wouldn't go anywhere near Mr. Tu's house. Whenever it got close, it tucked its tail, whimpered, backed away, even growled like it saw something. Mr. Nam just gave a nervous chuckle. Dogs know, even if our eyes can't see. But if we could see, maybe we wouldn't dare tell anyone either. And Mr. Tu? Since his wife went missing, he looked worse by the day. His face sunken, beard unkempt, eyes hollow and dark with sleeplessness. Anyone who asked him anything got the same tired responses: "Yeah. Maybe. Kinda busy." His biggest concern was carrying the water jar into the house, setting it near the kitchen corner. Anyone who visited would hear him say, "Hai used this jar all the time. Keeping it here feels like she's still around." Auntie Moi Sen snorted. "That jar. She used to haul it up from the canal herself, ladling water for washing veggies and bathing. Now bringing it inside? Feels like you're making her die all over again." But before anyone could dwell on that, something strange happened. That night, Mr. Ba Exio, the fisherman who usually rowed past the house, suddenly jumped out of his boat into the canal, drenched head to toe, and ran home in a panic, his wife yelling after him. He said that as he passed Mr. Tu's house, he glanced through the kitchen window and saw a woman with long hair, dressed in a purple ao ba ba, crouched down scooping water from the jar. But the ladle? It floated in midair, no hands holding it, yet it scooped, poured, scooped, poured, all on its own. He rubbed his eyes and looked again. The woman was gone. But the ladle dropped to the floor with a loud clunk. Then, silence. The whole hamlet shivered hearing that. Especially Auntie Hai Hong, who used to make fish sauce with Hai Tim. She swallowed hard. "I never believed in ghosts before. But this sounds exactly like the stories my aunt used to tell. When someone dies wrongfully, their spirit lingers. especially if they died in anguish. That night, Auntie Moi Sen begged Mr. Nam Bui to bring along 2 more men, flashlights in hand, pretending to stop by Mr. Tu's for a chat. Really, they just wanted to see if he acted strange. But as soon as they stepped onto the porch, Mr. Tu's voice called from inside. "It's late, fellas. You should head home. I'm tired." No one had even knocked yet. The 3 of them stood quietly by the fence, listening. Inside the house, they heard the sound of a ladle striking the water jar, steady, 3 times. Clunk, clunk, clunk. It wasn't loud, but in the middle of a still night, it sent chills down their spines. They stood frozen, glancing at one another, then slowly backed away. No one said a word. By morning, the group gathered. Everyone shared what they'd seen or heard. Some said they should report it to the local authorities. Others said bring in a shaman. But no one did anything. There was no proof, just stories. And Mr. Tu? Still alive, still selling charcoal, still buying shrimp at the market, still smoking quietly by his doorway. The only difference, everyone noticed, was that he never sat down to eat anymore. The food was cooked, sure, but he brought the tray into the kitchen and came out alone. People in the hamlet started calling it the cold-floored house, because stepping inside made your feet feel like ice. Even in the heat, even without a fan. The breaking point came when little Bai, Auntie Bai Bem's grandson, snuck into Mr. Tu's house to play and ran out screaming. He said he saw Auntie Hai lying on the floor, her hair covering her face, her wrist still wearing the old silver bracelet she used to wear when alive. When people asked him, he just cried and mumbled. "Auntie Hai called me. She said, it's cold." She was sitting on the floor, she smiled. Auntie Bai Bem panicked, scooped him up, ran straight to the temple, and made offerings for a week. When they got home, she found in his pocket a long lock of hair, tied with a purple thread. No one could explain it. Ever since little Bai ran out crying that he saw Auntie Hai lying under the floor, Lungkin Hamlet had fallen into a strange half-believing, half-doubting silence. No one dared visit Mr. Tu's house anymore. The front yard grew dusty, weeds creeping all the way up to the doorstep. The water jar was now tightly covered, yet anyone who passed by still felt a chill crawl down their spine. But things didn't stop there. The strange happenings became clearer on one gloomy afternoon. That day, Auntie Tam Lo, the woman who steamed rice cakes to sell at the district market, was taking the back path along Mr. Tu's land to reach the boat dock. She was carrying a tray of steaming hot cakes, humming a Kai Luong tune when she suddenly froze, because she saw a figure standing by the nipa palm tree behind Mr. Tu's house. At first, she thought it was someone pulling weeds and was about to call out. But the figure didn't move. It stood completely still, like a statue. The late afternoon sun was fading, casting a yellow glow. Auntie Tam squinted, trying to get a better look, and goosebumps rose all over her body. The figure wore a purple blouse, long hair reaching the waist, arms hanging loose, but the head tilted unnaturally to one side, like the neck had been twisted. Auntie Tam was speechless. Her legs turned to cement. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Just as she began to step back, the figure slowly turned its face toward her. She couldn't see it clearly. Only 2 dark, empty hollows, no eyes. Auntie Tam screamed. The tray of cakes crashed to the ground as she fled, running all the way home. Breathless, face pale, unable to speak for several minutes, Auntie Hai Hong had to pat her back, massage her arms, and press a bowl of ginger tea into her hands before she could speak again. She said, I saw her. I saw her behind Mr. Tu's house. Purple blouse, long hair, but the face, it wasn't human. The rumors spread faster than lightning. Some said Auntie Tam was overheated, hallucinating. Others were convinced. It's true. Sister Hai's back. She hasn't moved on. That very night, someone reported seeing the light in Mr. Tu's house flicker on and off repeatedly. like someone was switching it constantly. But everyone knew. His house only had one old yellow bulb. It wasn't a fluorescent light that would flicker like that. By morning, Mr. Nam Bui did something no one else dared. He got Mr. Lan, the tricycle driver, and young Bon Rang Ken to sneak with him behind Mr. Tu's house just before dawn. Heading for the spot near the nipa palm. They hadn't even been there 5 minutes when they heard footsteps clacking on the wooden floor inside. Mr. Tu opened the back door and stared at the three of them. Not angry, not curious, not smiling, just stood there, face cold as stone, and asked one question. "What are you looking for?" Mr. Nam stammered. We were just looking for some cash hoang leaves. Heard they grow around here." Mr. Tu spoke slowly, his voice flat and steady. "Nothing grows here. Around here, only the dead stay." Then he slammed the door shut. The sound shook all three men to their core. Word of this reached the Kai Nuk temple. Monk Han, the head abbot, decided to visit the house himself, bringing a bundle of incense and a small statue of the Bodhisattva Guanyin. But the moment he stepped onto the yard, something gripped him, not a chill, but a heaviness. Like thousands of unseen eyes were watching every step he took. He approached the front step, gently placed the Guanyin statue down, and began to pray. But before he could even chant a full sentence, the statue tilted, then fell, and shattered in two. When people heard that, the whole hamlet sat silent like wooden statues. No one said a word. That night, Auntie Sao, the sweet soup seller, developed a high fever and babbled in delirium the entire night. She kept mumbling, "Open the door, I'm cold, open the door, it's so cold." By morning, she woke up with no memory of the night before. But the water ladle hanging in front of her house had mysteriously fallen and shattered in two. Mr. Tu still said nothing. No explanations, no excuses. He didn't leave the house. Every evening, as the sun dipped behind the row of nipa palms, people would see him sitting at the doorstep, eyes locked onto the mossy yard. No cigarette in hand, no tea, just gripping tightly an old purple cloth. Someone crept closer once, curious, looked carefully, and recognized it. It was Hai Tim's hair towel. Ever since Auntie Tam Lo saw that shadow standing by the nipa palm tree, and Monk Han's statue of Guanyin shattered at Mr. Tu's doorstep, Lungkin Hamlet had been cloaked in a strange veil, thin yet heavy, covering every roof and thatched hut. People walked softer, spoke quieter. Children didn't dare play outside in the evenings. The village dogs barked endlessly in the direction of Mr. Tu's house. Some even howled whenever the wind changed. As for Auntie Ut Tham, Hai Tim's younger sister, she hadn't said much since the day her sister went missing. She lived with her husband over in Rach Tray Hamlet and only visited occasionally. But this time was different. That morning, she showed up carrying a basket with some rice, fish sauce, and fruit, saying, "Just stopping by to check on my brother-in-law. See if he needs anything." Mr. Tu's face didn't change when he saw his sister-in-law. He simply mumbled and let her in. Didn't bother with much conversation. Auntie Ut quietly swept the yard, cooked lunch, tidied the house, all while sneaking glances around, especially at the rice jar near the kitchen. It was the same jar Hai used to use, covered with an old aluminum lid, tied with a strip of cloth like someone meticulous would do. That day, after lunch, Mr. Tu sat on the porch smoking. Auntie Ut went into the kitchen to scoop some rice to cook porridge. She heard a soft clack. The coconut ladle had fallen into the bottom of the jar. She reached in, fingers feeling around, and touched something cold and hard. She pulled it up. It was a silver ring, engraved with plum blossom patterns on the inside. Auntie Ut froze. She knew this ring. It was Hai's wedding ring. She was the one who had handed it to her sister on the wedding day. Inside was the engraving, T&T 2004, Tu and Tim. Yet every time someone asked Mr. Tu about it after Hai went missing, he would just shrug and say, "No idea, maybe she took it with her." Auntie Oot slipped the ring into her pocket, quietly went back to cooking, pretending nothing had happened, but her hands trembled. That night, after returning home, she pulled her husband out to the backyard and whispered the whole story. Eyes wide with fear, her husband snapped, "Are you sure? What if it's just a similar ring? You could be accusing someone unfairly." But she pulled out the ring, held it right up to his face, and whispered, "It's engraved, exactly like the one Hai wore. And it was at the bottom of the rice jar. In Mr. Tu's house. If she left on her own, why leave the ring? Why was it hidden there?" The next morning, Auntie Oot returned to Mr. Tu's house, this time bringing her eldest daughter, Dew, as a witness. But as soon as they approached the door, Mr. Tu stepped out, holding a bag of something in his hand, and said, "I had to go to Song Dock to pick up some goods today. Maybe come by another time." Without waiting for a reply, he jumped on his motorbike and sped off. Odd thing was, he usually parked the bike out on the porch, but this time, it had been right by the kitchen door, as if he had planned the exit ahead of time. Auntie Oot watched his figure disappear behind the row of river almond trees, her heart burning with unease. That afternoon, she told her daughter, "We have to check that rice jar. If your aunt died unjustly, I'm not going to let it go." Later that evening, the two of them crept back in through the rear door. The house was silent, the door hadn't been locked. They tiptoed into the kitchen, opened the rice jar. Using a flashlight, they reached down carefully. Just a few moments later, Dew screamed. In her hand was a long strand of hair, wrapped with red thread, buried beneath the old rice near the bottom. That wasn't all. Pressed against the side of the jar was a torn piece of silk scarf, exactly like the kind Hai used to wrap around her head when she was alive. Terrified, they shoved everything into a plastic bag and rushed out. But just as they stepped into the yard, Dew turned pale and pointed toward the bedroom window. Someone was watching them. A woman in a purple blouse, hair hanging loose, stood behind the curtain. Her face was ghostly white, her eyes black as deep pits. Both women screamed, stumbled, and bolted down the road. When they got home, Dew came down with a fever that lasted 2 days. In her delirium, she kept repeating the same words. Auntie Hai cried. "She was watching me," she said. "My mom was being deceived." As for Auntie Oot, the next morning she went to the market and spoke clearly to Auntie Sao, the sweet soup vendor. "I don't know exactly what's going on, but something is very wrong in that house. And if no one does anything, one day, someone's going to see blood seeping through that cement floor." Ever since Auntie Oot Tham found the wedding ring and that lock of hair tied with red thread buried in the rice jar, people in Lunkin Hamlet started saying out loud what they'd only dared whisper before. Sister Hai Tim didn't leave. She was murdered, but even so, everyone still kept their voices low. No one had the courage to speak out, because Mr. Tu still lived there, calm, unbothered, in that old tin-roofed house, as if the word guilt didn't exist in his world. But then, strange things began to happen, starting with the altar in Mr. Tu's home. Everyone in the hamlet knew the altar had always been simple. One incense bowl, 2 small candles, a photo of his ancestors resting on a wooden shelf in the center of the main room. On the 1st and 15th of every lunar month, Sister Hai would wake early, offer fruit, light incense, and place a cup of tea. Ever since she vanished, no one had seen Mr. Tu light incense again. But something odd happened. Every time someone visited the house, the incense on the altar wouldn't catch fire. It started with Mr. Nam Bui, a man known for his fearless attitude and disbelief in ghosts. That day, Mr. Tu asked him to help fix a bedroom door with a broken hinge. Mr. Nam chuckled. "Got my tools right here. Maybe I'll find out what he's been hiding." As soon as he stepped into the main room, he glanced at the altar, ash scattered, dust covering everything. He asked, "Why haven't you lit incense for the ancestors?" Mr. Tu just said, "I remember, but lately, the incense won't catch." Mr. Nam, half skeptical, pulled 3 fresh sticks of incense from his pocket and struck his gas lighter. Strangely, the flame burned bright, but the incense only lit for a moment, then puffed out. 3 times in a row. The more he tried, the smaller the flame became, like something was blowing it out. Then the incense gave off a foul smell, like burning hair. Not sandalwood. Mr. Nam's face turned pale. He swallowed hard. Mr. Tu just sat there on the wooden bench, staring at the half-burned incense stick, saying nothing. The air felt as heavy as wet ash, so much so that Mr. Nam went home without fixing the door. The next day, it was Auntie Sao's turn. She dropped by to deliver a jar of green beans for sweet soup and casually asked, "It's the full moon today, and I don't see you preparing offerings?" Mr. Tu mumbled, "I did, but the incense wouldn't light." Auntie Sao, curious, tried to light one herself. This time, the incense stick snapped in half as soon as it touched the flame. Ash scattered across the altar, as if someone had thrown it. Auntie Sao grabbed her basket and bolted out of the house, muttering as she went, "The ancestors are angry. They won't accept it anymore. They've had enough." Word spread quickly. Some said a spirit master should be called. Others didn't want to get involved. But the strangest thing was how Mr. Tu said nothing. Every day, he still went to the market, bought some vegetables or onions, then came home to sit quietly by the window, staring out at the mossy cement floor, until one afternoon, when Mr. Ba Exio stopped by for a chat. After a bit of small talk, Mr. Tu suddenly invited, "Stay for dinner tonight, I've got clay pot catfish." Mr. Ba agreed. As dusk fell, the two of them washed up and set the meal. 2 bowls, 2 pairs of chopsticks, 1 pot of rice, 1 pot of braised catfish, and a plate of boiled greens. As Mr. Ba was scooping rice, he asked, "Just the 2 of us? Why cook so much?" Mr. Tu looked up and said in a voice as soft as wind, "There are 3 of us." Mr. Ba froze. He glanced around. Only the 2 of them. He swallowed but didn't say anything more. After dinner, Mr. Tu gathered the dishes and brought them into the kitchen. Mr. Ba stayed on the mat, preparing tea, but from the back of the house, he heard it, spoon-tapping bowl. Clink, clink, slow. Even. Then, a soft cough. Long and strained, like someone choking. Mr. Ba sprang up, rushed to the kitchen door. No one. Yet the pot of fish was still steaming. A thin trail of smoke rose into the air. On the tray, 1 bowl was turned upside down. Inside, a spoon had left traces of fish sauce. Mr. Ba left without a word. The next morning, he went straight to the temple and asked the monk for a protection charm. He hung it at his window that very day. Then Auntie Ut Tham returned. But this time, not to investigate, this time, to confront. She stood in the center of the house, right before the altar. She pulled the wedding ring from her pocket, placed it on the table, and said clearly, "Brother Tu, my sister's wedding ring was at the bottom of the rice jar. Her hair, her scarf, also there. I don't need to ask anymore. I know, but I want to ask you, why?" Mr. Tu didn't answer. He pulled out a cigarette, lit it, took a long drag. His hand trembled slightly. His eyes drifted toward the altar. Then he exhaled. "I don't even know if I did it, or if I let it happen. But I haven't slept a single night since." Auntie Ut's voice shook. "If my sister died, at the very least, she deserves a place to rest. An altar where incense burns. If the incense won't light, she's crying out for justice." "Brother Tu." Mr. Tu looked out to the yard. His eyes reddened, but no tears fell. Ever since the incense stopped burning on the altar, the wedding ring was found in the rice jar, and Mr. Tu gave those vague answers to his sister-in-law. Lunkin Hamlet had fallen into a strange, oppressive silence. No one dared go near Mr. Tu's house anymore. Even the lottery ticket ladies made sure to take a different path. As for the kids, just hearing the words, "cold-floored house," was enough to send them sprinting away like someone was chasing them. And yet, in the middle of all that tension, Mr. 2 decided to dig a well. That's right, during the dry season, he hired someone to drill a well behind his house. The reason he gave was, the water from the jar doesn't taste sweet anymore, maybe the aquifers turned brackish. But everyone knew he lived alone. A few ladles of water a day wouldn't dry anything up. Still, he was determined, went to the market and hired Mr. Ka, the most well-known well driller in the region, to bring his equipment and start drilling near the corner of the old chicken coop. Mr. Ka arrived early with 2 assistants, fired up the machine, and the drilling began with a loud rumble. But barely a meter down, the drill got stuck, jammed tight, couldn't go further, even though the soil there was just sandy clay. Usually it took 10 meters to hit stone. Suspicious, Mr. Ka stopped the machine and told the others to dig manually. After just 3 shovels full, they uncovered a small, white, round bone, like the knee of a child. The 3 men froze. Mr. Ka knelt down, scooped up another layer of wet dirt, and within it were fragments that looked like finger bones. Tiny, brittle, hollowed out. Mr. Ka's face went pale. He turned to Mr. 2 and asked, "Hey, was anything buried here before?" Mr. 2's face didn't change. He answered quickly, Probably, where we used to bury the dogs." Then he lowered his head and walked back into the house. Said nothing more, but Mr. Ka didn't buy it. During the lunch break, he quietly called his younger brother, who worked at the local health clinic, and described everything: location, condition, what they'd found. That afternoon, no one saw Mr. 2. Only his motorbike sat outside on the porch. The house was silent, locked from the inside. That night, Mr. Ka went home, planning to return the next day. But in the middle of the night, he had a strange dream. In it, he was standing in front of Mr. 2's house. The sky thick with fog. The half-finished well glistened under the moonlight. Then, from the earth, a pale hand reached up, grabbed his ankle, and squeezed tight. A woman's voice whispered in his ear, "I'm cold, so cold, don't cover me with dirt." He woke with a start, drenched in sweat. The next morning, he didn't go back. At the same time, a rumor swept through the hamlet. Mr. 2 found human bones while digging the well. The story reached the commune police. 2 days later, they came to investigate, digging up the same hole. But strangely, there were no bones anymore. Just soggy mud and a few snapped roots. Mr. 2 sat on the porch, smoking, with a tired smirk on his face. He said, "You must have seen wrong. There's nothing here but dirt. No ghosts, no bodies." The police had no evidence. They quietly left. But from that day on, people in the hamlet began hearing weeping, soft, broken sobs, every time the moon rose, coming from the half-dug well behind Mr. 2's house. One evening, Auntie Moi Sen was out catching fish, passing by his house, when she heard something like someone choking back tears. A sound caught in the throat, part crying, part gasping. She took a hesitant step forward, and suddenly a white shadow darted behind the water jar. She nearly fainted, collapsed to the ground, and crawled all the way to the hamlet gate. That night, Auntie Moi came down with a fever. She raved in delirium, screaming and crying. She was really buried. She's under the ground. She's trying to push up through the floor but she can't. When Auntie Ut Tham heard the news, she wiped her tears, hands trembling, and placed the wedding ring on Sister Hai's altar at her own home. She lit incense, 3 sticks, but they only burned halfway, then snuffed out. She watched the smoke curl upward, then stood and said through a choked voice, "Sister Hai, if you're still there, show me. I'll speak up for you. I'll make sure the world knows." That very night, she dreamed. In the dream, Sister Hai sat by the well, clutching her stomach, hair hanging limp, eyes brimming with tears. Her lips moved slowly. It wasn't just me. Then the figure faded like mist, leaving behind a lullaby, soft, echoing, drifting all the way to the garden fence. In the countryside, people avoid many things, but one of the strongest taboos is placing a mirror directly across from the bed, because it's said to invite things that shouldn't be seen. Especially if there's someone in the house who recently died, or if there's been an unexplained death without closure. And the mirror in Mr. Two's bedroom, ever since Sister Hai Tim went missing. It had remained in the exact same spot, hanging right above the head of the bed. Its surface yellowed with age, scratched faintly like someone had dragged their fingernails across it. Outsiders didn't pay much attention, but Auntie Ut Tham, Hai's younger sister, remembered clearly. She'd stayed in that room several times when she first married into the family. And she remembered what Sister Hai once told her, "Don't turn the mirror. It has to face this way to catch the breeze right." But that day, after the strange business with the unfinished well and the crying that echoed through the nights, Auntie Ut decided to return. No warning, no hesitation. She stood at the gate of Mr. Two's house at noon, under the blazing sun, holding a bag of fruit and a pouch of coarse salt. Mr. Two was sitting on the porch picking vegetables. When he saw her, he paused for a few seconds, then gave a quiet nod, said nothing. Auntie Ut stepped inside, set the bag on the table, and went straight to the point. "Today I want to go into Sister Hai's room. It's been a while since I lit incense where she used to sleep." Mr. Two lit a cigarette, took a long drag, then turned his face away. His voice was hoarse. "Up to you." She entered the room. It still had the same layout as before, but there was a chill. Even at midday, the windows were shut tight. No sunlight came through. Sister Hai's wardrobe was still there, but its color had faded, and the lock was rusted. And the mirror still hung right above the bed, its surface gray and dull, as if covered in a film of invisible dust. Auntie Ut stood before the mirror. Her own reflection appeared faint, blurred, the features indistinct. She reached out to wipe the surface, and suddenly caught a glimpse of a purple blouse behind her. She spun around, no one. Her heart pounded. She turned back to the mirror. Only her reflection remained, but the back of her neck had gone cold, as if someone had just stood behind her and breathed softly against her skin. She lit 3 sticks of incense and placed them on the small altar in the room. One burned bright, the other 2 went out halfway, as if pinched by invisible fingers. That night, Auntie Ut stayed over at Mr. Two's house, for the first time in over 6 months. Mr. Two didn't say much, just laid out an extra mosquito net in the front room. But Auntie Ut insisted on sleeping in Sister Hai's bedroom, said it was to see if she'll come to me in a dream. Near midnight, when the wind began to whistle through the tin roof, the old mirror in the bedroom suddenly creaked, cracked, like someone had tapped gently from the inside of the glass. Auntie Ut opened her eyes. The room was pitch black, lit only by the faint glow of an oil lamp from the main room. The mirror was still there, but in the mirror, someone was sitting on the bed. It wasn't her. It was a woman with long hair, wearing a purple blouse, head tilted slightly, hands wrapped around her stomach, face lowered. Auntie Ut didn't scream, didn't jump. She just shut her eyes tight, trembling, whispering, "Sister Hai, is that you? You're back, aren't you?" "It's me." After a while, the air lightened. When she opened her eyes again, the mirror had returned to normal. No one was there, but on the floor, right in the spot the mirror reflected, there were faint drops of water. Like someone had walked barefoot through the room moments ago. The next morning, Auntie Ut stepped into the kitchen and saw Mr. Two standing silently before the old water jar. He didn't turn around, just said, "Last night, I dreamed of her too. She was sitting, looking in the mirror, but I wasn't in the reflection. Only her." Auntie Ut looked at him, her voice thick with emotion. "If she's still appearing, then she hasn't moved on. You know why?" Mr. Two turned toward her. His eyes were bloodshot, his beard unkempt, like a man who hadn't slept in days. "I know." But she didn't say anything. She just stared. Auntie Oot reached into her pocket and pulled out a sprig of soapberry and some 5 claw creeper leaves. She placed them on the table. "I'm leaving these here. Tonight. Hang them in front of the mirror. If she comes back, please let her speak." After the night she saw Sister Hi Tim's reflection in the mirror. Auntie Oot Tham became certain her sister hadn't passed on. Silently, she burned 5 claw creeper leaves and hung a soapberry branch in front of the mirror. Just like the old folks used to say. And each night, she slept in that room, inside that heavy, airless house, where every wall seemed to whisper something too quiet to hear. But that night was different. Around midnight, drifting in and out of sleep, she dreamed she was walking into the old kitchen, the one where Sister Hi used to sit and sift rice. A cold wind blew hard from behind her, sharp like needles. She saw Sister Hi sitting with her back turned, hands trembling as she scooped water from the jar, her shoulders hunched like someone weak from pain. She stepped closer and called softly, "Sister Hi," but her sister didn't turn around. One hand reached backward, the other still clutched her stomach. On the table sat an old envelope, its edges yellowed and stained like dried fish sauce. No name on the front, only a few words scribbled crookedly, "To the last one who finds this." As Auntie Oot reached for the envelope, Sister Hi whispered, "Look carefully at the date. The day everything ended." The wind howled louder, and then she woke up. She jolted upright, soaked in sweat. Her fingers still tingled, as if they had touched the coarse edge of that letter. The next morning, she searched the room top to bottom. The wardrobe, drawers, old stacks of books, sewing boxes, and finally, she knelt down and opened the worn wooden chest in the corner of the bed, something Mr. Two hadn't touched in years. At the bottom, nestled beneath a faded purple blouse, was an envelope wrapped in a plastic bag. The paper was wrinkled and stained, but the handwriting was unmistakably her sister's. She recognized it from the very first line. "If someone finds this letter, it means I'm gone, but I want someone to know why." The letter wasn't even a full page long, but each word cut like a blade. Sister Hi wrote that 2 years ago. Mr. Two began to change. He grew quiet, irritable, often disappearing late into the night. She had suspected an affair. But no, it turned out he was deep in gambling debt from cockfighting. And collectors had come after him. She secretly pawned her wedding gold to pay off his debt once. But he showed no remorse. Months later, she discovered she was pregnant. In the letter, she wrote, "I was happy, but he wasn't. He said kids cost too much. He said, who's going to raise it if it's born?" From that day on, I was raising a baby and raising my fear. Toward the end, she wrote, "I don't know if I'll live through the next few months. If something happens, please don't blame anyone. I just want peace. I just hope someone can light me a single stick of incense with a sincere heart." Auntie Oot read the letter and collapsed into a chair, tears falling fast. The paper trembled in her hands like Sister Hi herself was whispering into her ear, "Keep this for me. Okay?" She quietly walked out into the central room, placed the letter on the altar, lit a single stick of incense, and for the first time in days, it burned evenly, its ash curling into a perfect arc, glowing red all the way to the end. That afternoon, she brought the letter to Monk Han at the Kai Nook Temple. After reading it, he sat silently for a long while before saying, "A soul that dies unjustly and can't speak its truth, wanders. Lost. This letter, this is her last voice. You should leave a copy here. I'll pray for her." Auntie Oot nodded, but that very evening, she returned to Mr. Two's house, packed her things, and prepared to leave, just as she tied the last bundle. Mr. Two stepped out from the bedroom, holding Sister Hi's purple scarf. His face was ashen, like burnt ash. "That letter, she wrote it when I was drunk. I didn't stop her, but I didn't kill her either." Auntie Oot didn't look at him. She simply said, "You didn't kill her, but she died in your house. Under the floor, beneath the mirror, beneath the well. You should ask yourself, Can anything stay buried forever? Mr. Two stood there, silent, only the sound of wind rustling through the banana trees. And then, from behind the house, the soft giggle of a child echoed briefly, and faded. After Auntie Ut Tham found Sister Hai Tim's farewell letter and handed it to Monk Han at the Kai Nook Temple, the atmosphere in Lung Can Hamlet changed. It was no longer just whispered rumors behind closed doors. Now the talk was open. Every tea table, every sweet soup stall, every morning market buzzed with clear voices talking about someone buried under the floor. Auntie Sao, the sweet soup vendor, clicked her tongue. It's not just me, okay? I've had a weird feeling since the night I heard the 3 knocks on the wall. Mr. Nam Bui, sitting nearby, shook his head. That altar where incense wouldn't light. That half-burned stick. I heard about something exactly like that in Kai San once. A wrongful death that never got justice. And then Auntie Bai Bem, the most talkative woman in the village, was oddly quiet all morning. Until noon, when she finally exploded. What? Y'all didn't hear? Oot Net, the girl who worked for Mr. Two last year, came back the other day. What she told me gave me goosebumps. And just this once. Auntie Bai spoke at exactly the right time. Turns out, Oot Net, 17 at the time, dropped out of school, had worked as a live-in maid for Mr. Two. Back then, Sister Hai was still alive. The girl was quiet but sharp. She worked there for almost 3 months before quitting abruptly. When people asked, she just mumbled something vague about family matters. Now she was back in Ben Tre. Stopped by the Kai Nook market to buy a few things. Ran into Auntie Bai, and ended up telling her everything. Auntie Bai retold it like this. Net said that one night, she got up to use the bathroom and passed by the couple's room. She saw Mr. Two standing at the head of the bed, while Sister Hai was sitting under the mosquito net, crying. The crying wasn't loud, just soft sobs. Steady. Net froze in the hallway and heard Mr. Two say, "Cry again and I'll shut your mouth for good." Sister Hai didn't respond. She just stayed quiet. Another night, Sister Hai told Net to wash some clothes early and secretly slipped a folded note into her hand. She said, "If something happens to me, please tell them I didn't leave on my own." But the girl got scared. She never read the note, stuffed it into her bag that night, and left for home the next morning. At that point, the whole market seemed to hold its breath. Some clicked their tongues in regret. Others exchanged looks that said, "This isn't just rumor anymore." Within a single day, word of Sister Hai Tim's mysterious death had spread across the entire district. Through the Ong Shrine, up to the village hall, and eventually reached the head of the commune police. That very afternoon, 3 commune officers came to Mr. Two's house. There was no search warrant, just a polite invitation to come in for a conversation. Mr. Two didn't resist. He simply brought a pack of cigarettes and his faded army helmet. When his motorbike disappeared behind the row of nipa palms, the villagers gathered outside his fence. No one went in, but no one left either. By dusk, Auntie Ut Tham returned. She walked into the house, eyes sharp with resolve, carrying a stack of formal accusations and a copy of the farewell letter. She didn't cry. She didn't shout. She stood in the middle of the house, scanned every corner, and said slowly, "My sister didn't die because someone stabbed her or strangled her. She died because she was crushed. Because she lived without being herself anymore. A man who sees his wife cry and says, 'Shut your mouth or I'll bury you,' how is that not murder?" Her words struck like thunder in the night. Later, she stepped into the back kitchen and looked toward the unfinished well. The wind blew gently, and the water in the pit shimmered faintly under the pale moonlight. She closed her eyes for a long moment, then turned and walked back inside. That night, someone in the village claimed they saw the figure of a woman standing by the fence of Mr. Two's house, long hair, purple blouse, arms wrapped around her belly. But this time, her face was no longer angry, just sorrowful. The next morning, News spread that Mr. Tu had been detained for investigation. The entire hamlet fell silent. No one celebrated, no one mourned. Only, the altar to Sister Hai in Auntie Ute's house stood quietly. Incense curling upward, a soft wisp like morning tea steam. And one strange thing, from that day forward, no one ever heard knocks on the walls at night again. No more white shadows at the edge of the yard in the cold-floored house. Only Auntie Ute sometimes woke up in the middle of the night, opened the door, looked out at the well, and saw a single purple petal gently fall. After Mr. Tu was summoned to the commune office and Sister Hai Tim's farewell letter was made public, Lunkin Hamlet still didn't find the peace everyone hoped for. People thought once the truth came out, once it lay bare like noon sunlight, the wandering soul would rest. But no, the wind still felt strange. The night still felt cold. And Mr. Tu's house, though locked tight, still echoed with the sound of footsteps. Slow and steady, across the cement floor around the hour of the tiger. The first person brave enough to speak out was Auntie Tu Ria, the neighbor who'd never believed in superstitions. But that day, her face was pale, her hands shaking as she said, I heard dragging footsteps outside. At first I thought it was a thief. But when I looked through the window, I saw someone in purple walking by. No sound of steps, just the scuffing of slippers, but no feet underneath. After that incident, Auntie Ute Tham herself invited a spirit medium to perform a ritual for Sister Hai. The man invited was Master Ba Long from Kai Dam, famous for guiding restless souls to peace. He didn't speak much, but the moment he stepped onto the old floor where Sister Hai had lived, he furrowed his brow, ran his hand through the air at the doorway, and quietly said, It's heavy. This soul hasn't left. There's still resentment, regret, attachment. The ceremony was simple, yet respectful. An altar in the yard, a boiled chicken, white sticky rice, fruit, paper offerings, and a small wooden placard engraved with Nguyen T. Tim, born 1982. Date of death unknown. The whole hamlet came, some out of love, some out of curiosity, some out of fear, hoping to send the spirit away once and for all. When Master Ba Long began to chant, the incense hissed and sparked like it was fighting against the wind. Sweat dotted his forehead. Later, he placed talismans at the four corners of the house. But the moment he burned the old placard, the clear sky turned gray, and wind howled through the trees like a chorus of groaning voices. A black cat suddenly darted across the yard, then collapsed, twitching violently. As the drum beat for the soul ceremony echoed 3 times, a whirlwind swept across the altar, scattering incense ash in every direction. People shrank back in fear, while Master Ba Long closed his eyes, hands clasped, chanting faster and louder. But when it came time to light the final 3 sticks of incense, to invite the soul to receive the offerings, they all flew from the incense pot, landed on the cement, and burned slowly, forming the word, No. Master Ba opened his eyes, let out a slow breath, then turned to Auntie Ute and said softly, She didn't accept the offering. She's not ready to leave. There's still something unsaid. Someone still hasn't told the truth. The entire hamlet fell silent. 3 days later, the village was rocked by news. Mr. Tri, a distant cousin of Mr. Tu, got drunk at a memorial feast in the Gan market and started shouting in the street. I know everything, he told me himself, said he pushed too hard. She hit her head on the rice jar. But he panicked, didn't call anyone, just sat and watched her die. People rushed to find Mr. Tri. When they got there, he was lying in an empty lot, half-conscious, mumbling, I knew, I kept the secret, I didn't kill anyone. That night, at the Kai Nook Temple, Monk Han dreamed of a woman in a blood-stained purple blouse, arms wrapped around her stomach, standing in the center of the altar hall, sobbing as she whispered, I've never had a death anniversary. My name's not in the family records. I'm just a stranger in my own home. The next morning, Monk Han came to Auntie Oot's house and asked to build a temporary altar for Sister Hai, to give her a name, a date of birth, and even an estimated date of death. He said, "No soul can be at peace without a name, and the more wrongfully they died, the easier they stay among the living." From that day on, Auntie Oot kept the altar inside her own home. The incense always burned clean, smoke curling softly with the faint scent of soapberry and lemon leaves. But Mr. Tu's house, though abandoned, still had reports of knocking at 3 a.m. And the black cat that had collapsed during the ritual? It died the next morning, right on the edge of the cement floor. Ever since the failed spirit offering ceremony, things in Lunkin Hamlet stirred again like a wave building in silence. People no longer called it the cold-floored house. They now called it the house that rejects incense. They said that because, no matter how clean it was, no matter how many times the altar was rebuilt, the incense still burned out halfway. The ashes still fell as if strangled. Mr. Tu was released after a period of detention. The police said there wasn't enough evidence to press charges, especially without a body, and all the events from years ago were merely accounts with no eyewitness. He returned with visibly grayer hair, his steps dragging, no longer the proud man who once stood tall as the head of the hamlet. That old house now had only him, shuffling around alone. Strangely, he didn't move away, didn't lock the door, didn't sell the house. He kept living, quietly, right inside the place people believed he had buried his wife. Some said he was stubborn. Some said he had nowhere else to go. But Auntie Oot Tham thought differently. She said, "He knows she's still here. He knows, no matter where she goes, she'll always come back to look at that floor." That night, a light rain fell. Mr. Tu sat alone in the old bedroom, the oil lamp flickering weakly on the table. He poured himself rice wine, drank in silence. No food, no one across from him. On the table sat a photo of Sister Hai in her younger years, her face gentle, eyes that seemed to smile, or maybe mourn in silence. Around 2 a.m., he jolted awake, because he heard footsteps, soft, deliberate, on the cement floor. Not a rat, not someone in sandals. It was bare feet, slow, familiar, like someone who knew every corner, every cracked tile, every patch of moss. He sat up straight, eyes red, chest heaving. His hands shook, but he stammered, "Is that you, Tim? Is it really you?" No answer. Only a shadowy figure at the foot of the bed, standing right at the edge of the mat, staring down at him with unblinking eyes. Hair hanging wet like she'd just come in from the rain. Her purple blouse soaked and clinging to her body. Her face pale, utterly lifeless. Mr. Tu tried to rise, holding the old purple scarf in his hand, choking back tears. "I didn't mean to. It was an accident. I thought she'd wake up, but she never did. I panicked, didn't know where to bury her. I thought the cement floor was solid, no one would ever suspect." The figure didn't move, didn't speak. Mr. Tu broke down, crying like a child. "I was wrong. I deserved to die, but I didn't know how to say it. Every day I live, the smell of rice reminds me. The sound of bowls clinking makes my spine freeze. I don't dare look in a mirror anymore." Then he fell to his knees on the floor, beating his chest. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. If I could, I'd trade places with her." Outside, the rain kept falling, but inside, the house was dead silent. When he finally looked up, the figure was gone. Only wet footprints remained on the cement floor, starting from the foot of the bed, trailing out to the main room, and stopping at the old altar. The next day, Mr. Tu went to the market. He bought white lilies, beetle leaves, and paper offerings. Then he quietly walked toward the temple, saying nothing to anyone. All he left behind was a note at the front door. "I have nothing left to hold on to. But if there's another life, let me be a speck of ash beneath her feet, to receive the incense smoke every day, rather than live this life, tormented every night, afraid to sleep." That night, Auntie Oot Tham dreamed. In her dream, Sister Hai Tim stood in front of their old house, wearing her purple blouse, hands resting gently on her belly. She smiled softly and said, "I've come home, you can rest now?" When she woke, Auntie Oot cried like a summer storm. But those were tears with no more fear, no more choking pain. A year had passed since Mr. Tu knelt on the floor, crying and confessing to his wife. No witnesses, no legal documents, no lights, no court, just a man, once stubborn, once mistaken, bowing before a presence no one else could see. Only he could. In Lunken Hamlet, no one talked about the cold-floored house anymore. But whenever someone passed by, they slowed down, not out of fear, but because something inside felt heavy, like remembering someone who once lived there. That day, Auntie Oot Tham rode her bicycle to the market. She bought white lilies, fragrant incense, paper offerings, a brand new purple dress, and a large photo frame. For the first time in a year, she invited Monk Han to her home to hold the first death anniversary ceremony for Sister Hai Tim, proper, complete, with her name, her birth year, and a photo capturing a soft smile, like it was taken when no one was watching. The altar was set up in the yard, right where Mr. Tu used to keep the rice jar. The offering meal had caramelized fish, pumpkin soup, boiled sweet potato leaves, and a bowl of garlic fish sauce, just the way Sister Hai used to cook. Monk Han, dressed in brown robes, recited a short chant. The breeze was cool, the sun was gentle, the sky was clear. Strangely, from the moment the altar was set up, there wasn't a single gust of wind blowing the incense off course. The smoke rose gracefully, like it was drawing a path toward heaven. The whole village came. Auntie Sao brought a pot of black bean sweet soup. Mr. Nam Bui brought a basket of ripe Siam bananas. Even Oot Net, the maid from years ago, returned for the first time. She held the offering bowl with trembling hands, placed it at the edge of the altar, eyes misty with tears. When the chanting ended, Auntie Oot placed a bouquet of purple flowers in front of the photo. Her voice choked. "Today marks exactly 1 year since the day you left, without anyone knowing, without anyone daring to speak. Now you have your own altar, your name in the registry, someone to remember, someone to pray for you. I hope your journey is light, and your soul at ease." They say. The moment she finished, there was a soft thud from the kitchen wall. Those nearby heard it, others only saw sunlight bent slightly across the floor. Then everyone shared the meal. The air wasn't heavy with grief but warm, like an old reunion filled with peace. As dusk fell and guests left, Auntie Oot began cleaning. That's when she saw Mr. Tu approaching slowly from afar. He was thinner, hair almost completely white, holding his hat, eyes locked silently on the altar. Auntie Oot didn't greet him, nor turn him away. She simply said, "It's Sister Hai's anniversary today. If you want to light incense, go ahead." He nodded, stepped forward, lit a stick of incense, and whispered something no one could hear. But when he placed it down, his hands trembled, and his eyes glistened. After a long pause, he softly said, "Tim, I'm sorry. I'll carry this guilt for the rest of my life. Every night, I hear you walk into the kitchen, but you never walk out." He stayed there until half the incense had burned. Then he turned to leave, said nothing, didn't ask to stay. That night, Auntie Oot slept soundly, and for the first time in a year, she dreamed of Sister Hai, not standing at the doorway like before, not in her old purple clothes, not crying, not holding her stomach. This time, she walked in, sat at the edge of the bed, hair neatly tied, wearing new clothes. She smiled and said, "Thank you, I can go now." The next morning, Auntie Oot told Monk Han about the dream. He simply nodded, didn't ask anything, just said, "When someone is gone, but still loved, and when a restless soul is still waited on for peace, no ritual can fix that. Only the heart can set it free." That afternoon, Mr. Tu began clearing out the old house. A week later, he put it up for sale. When asked, "Don't you feel regret?" he only smiled and said, "A house without someone stepping out from the kitchen is no longer a home." The house was later bought by a young couple. They repainted the walls, planted flowers in the yard, but they kept the single tile in the center of the floor, the one where Mr. Two had once knelt and wept. They didn't know the full story, but one day, when Auntie Oot came to visit, she saw the couple's little girl playing with her toys in the yard. The child looked up, smiled at her, and said, "Auntie Hi wears green now. She doesn't cry anymore." Auntie Oot smiled back. The sky that day was crystal clear. This is where the story ends. Some deaths need no killer. Sometimes, silence, carelessness, and selfishness are enough to push someone away in pain. But if, in the end, there's still someone who remembers, someone who cares, and one honest apology, then maybe, just maybe, that soul can find the path to peace. Thank you, dear friends, for staying with me through this long journey. If you believe that karma is real in this life, please leave a comment below to share your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories of life, of heart, and of real people like this. See you again in the next video.